So I just delivered, or I should say I've arrived for the first time with my first load after driving, what was it, 8 hours?
7.
7. All right, 7 hours
Are
on
you
the road.
vlogging on YouTube?
What's up, truckers? I'm back at you with another video. I'm finally on the road. Well, actually, I'm not really on the road at the moment. You can tell I'm in a hotel here, but that's because my trainer in the middle of our training needed to go home. And you would think that when your trainer gets to go home, you get to go home, but that's not the case. No. You see, my trainer lives in Spokane, Washington, and I live on the East Coast. So you only get to go home if you are close to where your trainer lives. So if you get training with Werner and your trainer gets routed home, then hopefully it'll be close to your home and you can head home too. So I'm on the road and I'm going to give you my review of the first week here. It's been actually more like 4 or 5 weeks at this point. I ended up waiting about 10, 11 days for a trainer. And that's just the way it is sometimes. If the trainers are not available, if they have no one, then you just need to wait until someone is available. So for me, I'm on the Coca-Cola account. That's what I decided to go with. But they didn't have any trainers available. So eventually the driver support rep said to me, hey, do you mind going on another account with a different trainer? Then when you're done, you can come back to your account. It'll be fine. And at first I said no, I didn't want to do that because I wanted to learn all of Coca-Cola's routes. I wanted to learn their terminals and so on, but I didn't want to just be sitting in a hotel room. So eventually I said, sure, I'll go out with another trainer. And I got hooked up with an OTR trainer, and that's an over-the-road trainer. Now, I wasn't keen on over-the-road, mostly because I got kids at home and a family, and I don't want to be on the road all the time. But I can say that since I've been on the road, it's actually not a bad gig. The nice thing about over the road is that it's all what we call drop and hook. That means you literally never touch the freight. You go to a terminal or to a drop yard or a pickup location, and they have the trailer already filled and ready to go. All you got to do is drop the trailer you're hooked up to, hook up to the next one, take off and go to your next location. So you're literally just driving. They even have a little seal they put on the back of the trailer, so you're not even able to look at the freight. So that's really, really nice. I do appreciate that part of it. The only problem is, of course, the way to make money in OTR is by staying out 3-4 weeks at a time. So I'm just not ready to do that yet while my kids are little. But I can say that any fears or trepidation I had about being an over-the-road trainer, immediately gone. It's just a different lifestyle, learning to adjust to life on the road. But it's not a bad thing. The thing that I was most concerned about is being alone with a total stranger for 4 to 5 weeks, locked up in this little 12-foot by 8-foot cab in a space that's actually his and not mine. And again, I have to say some of my fears were relieved about that as well. Because the trainer I got hooked up with is a pretty cool guy. We actually agree on a lot of things. For example, we both agree that Star Wars Episode 8 was a huge steaming pile of poo.
That is one big pile of shit.
But he extends that hatred to episodes 7 and 9 as well, and I don't. I think that the latter trilogy was pretty good overall. So that's another video, though. We'll get into that later on. Anyway, being on the road with a stranger is in their own space is a little unnerving. But he's pretty cool. He's like, dude, my house is your house, and even though he says that, you always feel like this is somebody else's space. It's just not mine. So I'm looking forward to that time when I actually get routed back to the terminal, pass this training period, and get my own truck. And then I can kind of have my own space and, be me. But I want to address a couple issues about life on the road. And again, this will be kind of my review of that and hopefully help you guys that are getting started out. and need some tips and pointers. And then to my folks watching at home, you guys will know a little bit about what I do. So the biggest thing I would say is stay in your lane and don't hit stuff. Now, that seems pretty simple, except for the fact that you have a huge 53-foot rear end on the back of your truck, and you just need to be careful of that truck, or that trailer, I should say, wherever you go. I've hit a couple curbs, didn't take my turns wide enough, and you always need to take your turns wider than you think you need to take them. Always be in mind where those rear trailer wheels are, because they never make the turns when you think they're supposed to make the turns. So that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that you stay in your lane and you don't hit anything. And it's a little harder than it sounds. The next big thing I would say is, as you're driving, make sure that you look ahead. This is so important. When you're driving a car, at least for me, I only used to look ahead about 100 to 200 feet. You never had to look ahead more than that, because if you saw something happen in front of you, you had time to react. Not so with a tractor and trailer. You need a whole lot more time to react. So you learn to look very, very far ahead. And I've had to just lift my eyes on the horizon a little bit more. And, then it gives you time to react if you need. The next thing I would say is read every single sign. I don't know why before I just thought most signs didn't apply to me in a car, and some really don't. You never think about the height necessarily of an overpass as you're going there, because your car is only yay high. But in a tractor trailer, that's right, you're 13.6 feet or 13 feet 6 inches. And so you got to make sure that that overpass is high enough. And every sign seems to apply to the commercial driver. So just make sure you are looking for every single sign. I've been caught a couple times by my trainer, and he said, "Hey, what'd that sign say?" And I'm like, "I missed it. I'm so sorry." So he's had to kind of reel me in and make sure that I'm reviewing those signs as much as possible. And then life in the cab. So life in the cab is very, very interesting. Again, it's not really my space, even though your trainer tries to make you feel comfortable. You're in the top bunk. Well, I'm in the top bunk. The only problem is sleeping in a moving vehicle. It is a little harder than you think. When you're in a car, there's not as much movement, but when you're in a tractor trailer, yeah, there's a lot of movement. There's a couple times and I have bounced minimum 6 inches off the bed. And you think I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. At one point, I had a dream that I was having an epileptic seizure. And it turns out when I woke up, I was just shaking in the bed, because that's what you do when you're shaking on a moving tractor trailer with suspension that's nowhere near as good as suspension you have in a vehicle, a residential vehicle. Just be aware that that's going to be an adjustment, figuring out how to sleep in a truck. And then the other thing is just learning how to maneuver with two people in that tiny little space. It's not fun. I can just tell you that. It's not fun, no matter how nice your trainer is going to be. But you know what? Just suck it up, get used to it, and it's only for a short time. So speaking of short time, the shortest time of your training period is the first week. And the first week is what I call Hell Week. And I call it Hell Week because that first week, they really do throw you to the wolves. The trainer is supposed to be on what we call observation time. That means the trainer doesn't drive the truck at all. He is literally, his working time or her working time is watching you drive the truck. So you are going to get in that truck and you are going to drive for 8 to 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day, whatever your endurance can handle as a new driver. And your trainer's just going to watch you. So that was a little unnerving, of course, because you're trying to make sure you do everything right. And your trainer's job is to nitpick and pick things out that you're not doing right. And you are going to do a lot of things wrong as a new driver. And so my only counsel there is, just roll with it. Understand that, hey, I'm new at this. I've got to learn how to handle this truck on the road. And it's not as easy as it first sounds. One of the things I did, one of my little mistakes was I think we were in Richmond, Virginia, and I actually took an early exit. I'm following the GPS. GPS says make your left here. I could have sworn it said make your left right here. And yeah, sure enough, I almost cut a vehicle off, but made the exit. And then my trainer goes, yeah, you were supposed to take the next exit. So we were in downtown Richmond, and I'm trying to maneuver this huge tractor trailer with a 53-foot rear end around the inner streets of the city. I definitely hit a couple curbs that day. My trainer said I almost took out a pedestrian, but I think he was just trying to make me feel worse. But we actually got out of there. No equipment was damaged. No people were injured. And I call that a success. Even though it was a failure, you know, you learn from your mistakes. So that was about it. I almost hit a deer on the road. That was kind of fun. And there's a big tip they tell you. You learn this in orientation and in training, really. They say if you got a deer in the road, you don't even swerve. Just keep rolling, because you can do more damage by trying to swerve out of the way and getting into some kind of accident, hitting somebody else, turning over the trailer. So if you got a deer in the headlights, you're just going to hit that deer. That's pretty much what I did. I just kept rolling. I shook the steering wheel a little bit because I was scared. But luckily there was another car a little bit further in front of me, and that must have frightened the deer. And so the deer ran off, and I missed him by maybe that much. So those were kind of my interesting things that happened. Nothing else really that exciting. There's a lot that I'm going to be sharing, I guess, in a future video about what to do at truck stops, because truck stops are going to be literally 2/5 of your life as a trucker. You know, when you're not on the road, those are the places you're going to be. So there's been some interesting things happen at some truck stops, and I want to share with you some of those events and maybe some tips about how to survive those. But this is kind of my review of the first couple weeks of training. And if you guys have any questions, if you want to know more, then drop the hammer on that like button and subscribe as well. And you'll see me in the future. Thanks, guys.